Okay, this is Andrew, and we're back looking at the VLANs on switches. So, for example, what we've added in this video is this blue circle no longer means one broadcast domain. Okay, so in this domain of this is now inside our building. Okay, so we've added managers and employees. Managers have these laptops because they have to take them home and work all night and then come back in and plug in and work more. But the employees, they just go home and they don't have to work anymore. So, anyway, what happens here is I'm going to read you an actual definition directly out of Wikipedia for VLANs. You can search and get many different definitions. They all kind of sound different, but they really mean basically the same thing. So I'm going to read it to you because it's so important. Generally, I don't like doing that, but it's so important. I want you to read an official definition. In computer networking, a single layer 2 network may be partitioned to create multiple distinct broadcast domains, which are mutually isolated so that packets can only pass between them via one or more routers. Such a domain is referred to as a virtual local area network, a virtual LAN, or a VLAN. Okay, great. So if you look right here, the key about VLANs is they're different broadcast domains. Okay, even on the same switch, they're separate. They cannot send, you cannot send from one VLAN to another VLAN using a layer 2 switch. So, for example, in the previous lesson, we kind of learned that in a broadcast domain, you could send to another guy in that domain. You don't have to, but you could. But here we're saying you can't. Mac A cannot send to Mac B. He can't. Not in this configuration. He would have to use a router or a layer 3 switch. In this configuration, he can't. So what we want to do is make different VLANs that literally isolate these networks, so to speak, and or LANs. And the reason you want to do, there's a number of reasons you want to do it. For one, right now, let's just say the managers, these guys are managers, and they have information these guys shouldn't get. So they have performance reviews and other information that these guys are not entitled to. So they're on their own separate VLAN, and these guys are on their own separate VLAN. Okay, so what happens when the manager with all MAC addresses of all A's wants to send a message to MAC addresses of all E's? Okay, well, first let's say all the MAC tables are built and the switches know exactly how to get to each other. We've been through the process of building MAC tables, so now we know the switches have their MAC tables built and they know how to get directly to each other. So at the same time, this employee over here with a MAC address of all F's wants to send a message to the employee with a MAC address of all D's. Okay, so let's take a step and see what happens. Okay, so this message came in here and he said, oh, you want to go to MAC address of all E's, out this way, go. All right, MAC address F starts to send his message to this switch, and we'll see what happens. Now, additionally, we see that there's no way possible that the purple managers could go down to the red employees. It's just blocked. There's no way. It's isolated. He can't get there. He can't get there. Okay, so let's take another step. All right, what happened? The message went into this switch. He said, oh, okay, you want to go to E, go. So he sent him out this way. But he could not possibly go to the employees because it's a purple manager message and it cannot possibly go to the red employees message. Okay, at the same time, this guy's message hit the switch and he said, oh, you want to go to MAC address D? Go out this way. Go out this way. Now, here you see a new concept is here you can't have purple manager messages, right? And here you can't have red employee messages, right? Because they're isolated. But here you've got purple and red, both on this line, and that's called a trunk. A trunk carries all the VLANs, okay, that you assign to that port. You can tell this port which VLANs you want it to carry and which VLANs you don't, or you can just say all. But for this example, both of these are on the trunk. So let's take another step. All right, the purple message from MAC address A's gets to this switch. He says, "Oh, MAC address E, you're out here. Go." All right, done. And the red message gets to this switch from F, and he says, "Oh, you want to go to MAC address D? Go. You're done." But he can't go this way. We already know red cannot possibly go to purple. Okay, it's great. So I hope that gives you some kind of idea about how messages are sent and isolated in VLANs. Okay, so let's take another look, make it a little more simple, and we'll just show how these are connected. So basically we have two isolated networks, the purple like this and the red like this. So the red is one broadcast domain and the purple is another broadcast domain, yet they live on the same switches even in different locations. So what good does that do us? I mean, what do we benefit from that? Well, let's take another look here. Let's take a look at our building. Okay, this is where we work. We have the second, third, and fourth floor of this building. Okay, we have managers on each floor and we have employees on each floor. So if we have no VLANs and we want to allow the managers to communicate with each other only, then we have to put a switch on each floor, and we have to connect all the managers together on each floor. Remember, there's 20 managers on each floor, 20 employees on each floor, 20 total on each floor. So 10, let's say 5 managers and 15 employees on each floor. Okay, so that means you have to plug in 5 managers, 5 managers, 5 managers, and then any of the managers can communicate with each other. And then we have to buy 3 more switches and plug in 15 employees, 15 employees, 15 employees, and then connect lines. We have to run cable between the floors somehow. Okay, so that'll work, but there's a better way, and that's using VLANs. So let's say I have my 5 managers here, 5 managers here, 5 managers here, and I just designate these ports here as manager VLANs. And then for my employees, I just designate these employees VLANs ports. Okay, so I designate these ports to the employees VLANs. So we can see here that also it doesn't have to be just 2 VLANs. You could have 5, you can have even more. We can have engineers, accountants, whatever. We can have many and even more. So all of these plugging into their switch on different floors. So we can have managers, engineers, accountants on each floor, and each one can have their VLAN, and they communicate to each other. So another benefit of this is then I only run one trunk between the floors, and then I put on which VLANs I want to allow on that trunk. So for example, say I added a department later, I can just add the VLAN to the trunk. I don't have to re-cable wire through the different floors. So also the cost of saving the switches is also the cost of cabling and things of that nature. So the VLANs have saved us a lot here. They're a very great thing. Okay, so I hope that gives you an idea about VLANs, and we'll be discussing it more in future videos. Thank you.